peeps, Rose Burnett here. Hey, I hope you don't mind me chatting to you from my car. It's often one of those places where I get that quiet time, we get so busy, and I wanted to share with you something today about transformation and taking a leap of faith. And often when we go through a period of transformation, and I'm talking about doing something that totally pushes you out of your comfort zone, hopes and dreams and big ideas, and often it can be one of the scariest things to do, and yet one of the most liberating when it comes off. And I guess I wanted to share with you that it takes a massive leap of faith, and it's only a leap of faith that you can do on your own. And when you're going through that period of transformation, the people closest to you can be your biggest naysayers, which is totally bloody unhelpful, right? And it can come from your partners to your parents to your friends, and often it's because it's out of their comfort zone. Whatever you're trying to do, whenever you're trying to do something big on a big scale, on a massive scale, and even if it's on a small scale and it's something that you've not pushed yourself to do before, people around you get fearful, and they get fearful of the change, and they also do it because they care about you and they want the best for you. And I guess the thing to remember is that in those times you actually have to put a massive buffer around yourself, a mental buffer to block out the naysayers and the comments. And sometimes that's difficult because what people say can often go straight to our heart and our psyche. And a lot of people just give up because it's all too hard and they feel the heaviness of other people's opinions on them. And I want to say to you to break through that, to break through it, to not take on other people's projections of their fears onto you, to keep your dreams alive, to believe in them. If your gut and your inspiration and the messages that you're receiving, not only from yourself but from spirit and divine, and often we get signs and signals along the way that we're on the right path. Believe in yourself 100 and more than 100%. You need to believe in yourself more than 100% to get it over the line. And often the biggest fear, and it can be, oh my God, I don't have enough money to do this, I have no money to do this, or I don't want to fail, and is it going to work? And there's no safety net. There is no safety net, and that fear is going to be there in the pit of your belly, but you've just got to do it anyway. You've got to do it anyway. And I'll share a story with you. And I started I've had several businesses, and I don't know how much time you've got, but we're going to have a story, okay? And I can remember thinking that one of my biggest things is always thinking that I had to fit in with the norms and be conventional, and I've never really had a spirit of being conventional, and I think it's taken me a long time to realize that, because we get so bogged down by other people's expectations of us and society's expectations to be responsible and normal and straight, and don't colour outside the lines, right? And I know within my heart and soul I've never been that person. I've always felt inspired to be more than that, and to be an entrepreneur, and I love that entrepreneurial spirit, because for me it allows me to be innovative, it allows me to be creative, and it means that nobody's controlling me. I have control over my own destiny, but I also have that unlimited possibility to just create, which is my passion, creating and building stuff from nothing. And the story I want to share with you happened quite some time ago, back in 2003, 2004. I had gone from running a business where I basically painted all day long and painted homemade giftware. And sometimes we start our business ideas off with these basic things, and I can guarantee you over time, the more ideas you have, the more you're going to grow as an entrepreneur. And often what you find out is your idea is pretty much time poor, and you run out of time, hours in the day, and you're only limited to a certain amount of income you can run from that business, and that was one of those. And I had separated from my first husband at that time and had two young boys to look after. They were like 3 and 5. And I thought, right, well, I'll have to go back and do something normal, right? So I went and studied for a couple of years in HR. And when I got out, because I also had a business background, nobody would hire me. Because one, I did not have enough experience in HR, but was overqualified in a whole lot of other levels to go into entry-level jobs. But I plugged away for a good 12 months trying to get a goddamn job, right? And I can remember sitting on the back of a friend's boat on Rottnest, and it was around Christmas, New Year time, and my boys had brought me this beading kit for Christmas, and I was sitting there making these beaded earrings. I had no experience whatsoever in making beaded jewelry, none, but they gave me a book, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I'm sitting on the back of the boat, and I thought, I wonder if I can make any money out of this idea, being the creative soul that I was. And And it kicked off a business idea that spanned about 4 years, and it ended up going global. And I took that business and, I started it off pounding the pavements and making cold calls to retailers in Perth, where I live. And that was a scary damn thing to do, let me tell you, because I'd never done cold calling before. And I just wrote this script and rang up all this telephone script and rang up all these companies and asked if I could come and show them this collection that I had put together. And I managed to get 5 or 6 shops out of that and had, started this business off. But I soon found out that it was pretty limited and that I needed to expand. So, the internet was just taking off then, and nobody knew really how to market. Nobody knew how to do SEO. And I took this business idea, and for about 12 months it struggled. And I was still trying to figure a way to make it grow. And in the same instance, I was learning a lot about teaching myself about web development and marketing and SEO, because nobody knew. I just researched it. And anyway, I got enough funds up to build a professional website, and I really kind of got my act together in terms of tapping into marketing, tapping into my niche. And this business went global, and I ended up with 695 retailers worldwide, as well as around about a customer base of around about 3,000 retail customers as well on this database. And it was just in my flow. I was in my creative flow. I was in my abundance flow. And whenever I wanted money, I would just send a newsletter out with some specials and inflow the money. And by the time I woke up the next morning, I'd have orders to fill. And I grew that business from it being something that was pretty hands-on to importing a lot of jewelry, and it expanded it into beading supplies when the beading craze was on. But it just shows you how you can take an idea and run with it. But for me, I had no idea if it was gonna fail or work. I had $500 in my back pocket at the time. Wasn't doing great, and yet, it went so well. And out of that, I got approached by a company in Sydney who built my website and said to me, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing." And to be honest with you, I was #1 on Google for 4 years straight for every major keyword to do with fashion jewelry and all the products that I was selling. Nobody could kick me off. They tried, but I'd kind of nutted down how to do SEO and marketing so well, and self-taught. And so this company approached me and said, "I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it so well. We want you to do it for all of our customers and our clients." And they had some big clients, and they had musicians, and they had the Telstras which is the big telephone company over here, and all sorts of different businesses. And so I started off doing website marketing business and a consulting business in that, which spanned quite a number of years, and has always put me in good stead. And sometimes I think back to that time and think, perhaps if I hadn't done that business would be huge now. But then again, the beading craze has stopped, hasn't it? So it was probably a good time to get out. And I guess I just want to share with you, and I've had many ideas since then and run with them and extended myself. And I did a global tele summit in 2010? No, I'm trying to think of the year. It doesn't really matter. It was between 2010 and 2013. And interviewed a lot of the top social media marketers around the world. I'm very grateful that they agreed to be interviewed. Some very beautiful people I met. And that was another challenge in itself, and getting out of my comfort zone and tracking them down and trying to get them to agree to interviews. And then, in Australia, I was interviewing them in the middle of the night between 1 and 3 a.m. So I'd have to psych myself up to do that. And I hadn't interviewed people before, and we put this series up, and, it did well. But it was more about me extending myself out of my own comfort zone. And every time you do that, there is no safety net, and there's always going to be that pit of fear in your belly, but you've got to push through it. And I just want to share with you that it doesn't matter what your dream is, keep it alive, what your goal is, just one step at a time. The one thing I always, I mentored a lot of small businesses in a meetup group that I had in terms of technology. And the one thing I always come back to when you're in that headspace of perhaps fear and not knowing if it's going to work is one step. What is your next step? Just remember, what is your next step? And you plow through that step. And as you plow through that step, you grow and you have successes. You have the small wins. You build on those small wins. And the ones that don't work so well, they're just a learning experience to go, hey, I need to tweak that. What can I learn from that? How can I do that better? Don't be afraid of your success. Don't be afraid of the inner knowing of your intuition, your gut feelings of being on the right path for you and tapping into your flow. And I guess what I can share with you is that that business, it was called Sabu Jewelry, that business, I was totally in my flow, absolutely in my flow, and I loved it. I lived each day joyfully, and sometimes, sure, there were some stresses about money and things like that at times because I was relying on myself, right? And yet I was so in flow. And there's been times since then where I've gone, no, I've got to do the practical thing and go and work for a company and earn some responsible money, huh? And every time I do that, I come up against people that don't meet my same values and my same level of, I guess, wanting to do things in an innovative and creative way. And it's a struggle for me, an absolute struggle for me. And I'm a team player, and I don't get into politics. I don't get into company politics and people worried about their jobs and backbiting about how much they're going to step over the next person to get to the top, right? It's just not me. It's just not me. I'm too much of a spiritual balanced person, and I guess I want to share with you how important it is to find your flow, tap into your flow, and when you're going against your flow because you feel it. You so feel it in every cell of your body. And I can remember going to a job that, for a while there it supported me quite well, and I was very grateful for it, but I had outgrown it, and there was a lot of conflict going on in that organisation itself, and a lot of people worried about their jobs and stuff like that. And I can just remember driving along the road away from my home to this job, and it was first thing in the morning, and absolutely hating every step of the way because I knew I wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't filling me up. I wasn't tuned in, tapped in, turned on to what lit me up, right? And I absolutely knew it. And it took me a while to let go of that because of those expectations of following the norm, being the normal, being responsible, when all I wanted to be was something completely irresponsible. I want to live my life joyfully. I want to follow my path, my flow, tap into my creativity, my innovation, and to create an existence that is unconventional. Unconventional. Think about all the people that are unconventional, that have done something unconventional. Steve Jobs, yeah? Who else is unconventional? You have a look at one of my favorite mentors is Grant Cardone, right? He pushes every button on every channel. Get hold of him on YouTube. He's doing multiple projects. He's not satisfied with doing one thing. He wants to do lots of things. And people say to you, like, just find your purpose. Well, my purpose is often multiple things, multiple streams of income. If you can get multiple streams of income happening, and you set and forget, which is one of my big things. Whenever you create something, it's about scalability. Whenever I create an idea, I look at it and go, because I've learned over the years, the one where I had my giftware business, that was never going to be scalable because it relied on me to be there on an hourly basis in a labouring kind of position. Do you know what I mean? Sabu Jewelry was scalable because, I changed it from being labour intensive to scalable by importing and exporting other products and building a product line. And, every business I've gone through from since then, I've always looked at it and go, can I scale this without me being in it? Obviously, you can never step out of a business and expect it to succeed. You're always got to have your hands on the controls and be directing and have a vision. But it's also about how can I create it in the less labor-intensive way possible, right? So always keep that in mind. And I think one of the other big things that's helped me that I hope you will find helpful is I've always been able to have that vision of the end game. So knowing the end and working all the steps back to the beginning. I mean, you always start at the beginning, right? But you need to have that vision. Okay, so I've got the vision and this is where I want to be, right? So, and you can put yourself in that position, right? Because in NLP, I'm an NLP practitioner, transformational coach. You can always do that timeline thing where you project yourself out into the future and you know what you want, and regularly write your goals down. Write big goals. Don't make them small. Write big goals. I've got a whiteboard in my office and I go in there and scrub everything off quite often and start again. And often the same goals will come up, but it's that freshening of them up. And I always know my end game, right? And I'm always tweaking how I'm going to get there, but I always have a very deep certainty within myself of the main ways in which I'm going to get there. So it's really important to have that vision and to, block people out in terms of, if you've got to not see some people for a while because you're in that super creative stage and your business idea is in its infancy, and you don't want the influence of other people on that, then sometimes it's kind of a good thing to step out of that and go, I'm just not going to see people for a little while. Got to to focus on my business idea, I will mix with the people that are in my circle that are totally supportive. And often you'll find that some of your closest friends, because they want your success as much as you do. And it's about nurturing yourself and that level of self-care, putting emotional boundaries in place with people and just not letting them impact or attach themselves to your energies. All right, peeps, I hope you found that helpful. Much love, much light. Namaste.